Hey everyone! Linda Kvist from Find Your Swedish Ancestors podcast. Today, I'm going to walk through a couple of steps that I talked about in episode number 3 of Find Your Swedish Ancestors podcast. Starting from an obituary from 1928 of a Swedish immigrant found dead in his cabin, we will look at his death certificate to use the information in Swedish resources. First, the CD EMIBAS that will tell us from what parish he emigrated, and from there to the Swedish church books. Then a free database back to the birth book to find the person in the birth book with his parents. So, let's start to look at the obituary. It is from Aitken Independent Age, and I got it from Aitken Historical Society. In the obituary, we get some clues about Andrew Richardson. He was a Spanish War veteran. He had a brother, Nels Richardson, living not too far away, and the birth date was February 26 in 1859. With that, I look for a death certificate to try to get some more information. Since this is all taking place in Minnesota, the Minnesota Historical Society have the records I need. And let's look at the certificate here. We have the name Andrew Richardson. We have the birthplace, that was Sweden. And the name of the father seems to be Nels Richard, and he was born in Sweden as well. And the maiden name of the mother, Eleanor Holmgren, born in Sweden. The informant, Nels Richardson in Swanville, Minnesota, and that is probably the brother that is mentioned in the obituary as well. And we can see the cause of death and that he was found dead in his house, and he was buried at Pine Grove Cemetery. And there are some more information on the certificate as well, much covered in the obituary. One thing doesn't match though. It's the birth date. It says 1858 January 26 in the certificate, and in the obituary it says January 26, 1859. And I think most correct one would be the one that's in the certificate. And with that, I think I have enough information to start my search in the Swedish resources. One of my favorite tools to start with is the CD EMIBAS, published in 2005 by the Swedish Immigration Institute and the Swedish Genealogy Association. It contains a searchable index of 1,090,000 records in 2,300 parishes from 1860 to 1930 of people that emigrated. This is not a primary source, but on each record we will find a reference to the original source, and we are going to check that out as well, as we always should. So as you can see, you can switch this from English to Swedish, so I will keep it in English to make it easier. We have some nice search options here, and I will choose the search of the birth date that we had in the death certificate. That was 1858 January 26, and I will choose only to search on males, and I pressed go, and we got 26 records, and that's a bit too much to start with, I think. So I press search again, and knowing his name was Andrew, that could be Anders or something similar, so I type in A and D in the first name, and I press go again, and we get 3 matches, which is easier to work with. And there is no Richardson, but this one looks interesting because his name is Anders Nilsson Rickars Holmer. So we're going to look at him for a while, and this button here is great. I always look at that one because you will see the people that emigrated from the same parish that particular year, and that sometimes gives some clues. And it does in this case as well. if we have Anders, and right above Anders we have a man called Nilsson Richard. And if we look at him, he's an unmarried man born in Vinslöv in 1860, and he emigrated on February 25th in 1882, actually the exact same date as Anders. And they are in the same page 54 in the house examine roll. So now it's time to check out the household book. I use an online program called ArkivDigital, and you need a paid subscription to use it. So, and here we search for the parish, and we are going to look for Vinslöv. And here we got it, and we press it, and we are going to look for, they emigrated in 1882. So we are going to look for a year that are in 1882, and here it is, 1879 to 1890. And we're going to open up that volume. And here we have an index, but we know what page we're going to, page 54. So we press here and we scroll down to page 54. And here we zoom in a bit. And we notice here, line 6, Anders Nilsson Rickard Holmer, born 1858, 26th January in Vinslöv. And we look over here. In this column, it says when they moved away. And we can see that he moved to America on February 25th, 1882. And we can see here one moving the same date. And we look here and it says, I can hardly read it, but it says Nils. And we got a father up here, Nils Svensson Rickard. And here is something that could be Elna Holmgren, but that it's crossed over. And we can see that she died in 1886. So this could be the two brothers. You know, the father's name seems to match, Nils Richard. We have a Holmgren, we have a Nils, and we have a Anders, or that would be Andrew in the US. But we're going to look at another resource that I like to use as well, since this is all taking place in the southern part of Sweden, in the Skåne area. There is a really nice resource you could use as well that is free. And we have it here. And we can press this for English. And it's Demographical Database for southern Sweden. And their long-range aim is that all church books concerning birth, marriage and death from Skåne, Blekinge and Halland, you see them on the map here, will be registered and free of charge to search on the internet. And from the year 1650 to 1900. And as with the CD, this is not a primary source, but as you will see as well, you will find references to the page of the particular church book where they found the information. So I'm going to search for birth and baptism records, because this is a kind of fast way to find the right page in the birth book. And we have 1858, and we're going to type it in this format for it to work. 26. And the child's first name was Anders. And we're going to do a search, and we get one match. And here we have Nils Svensson Richard matches, and Elna Holmgren, and the child's name Anders. We have the witness at the christening, And notes, it says barnmorska, which means midwife. And we have what archive Vinslöv CI:8 and page 54. So we'll go back here to Vinslöv. And A is the household records. And B is moving in and out. And C is the birth and christening. And we were supposed to look at C8. So you see it's from 1849 to 1861. And we're going to open the volume. And here you see a picture of the volume. We can see what it looks like. And we were going to go to page 54. And it's kind of funny because the other book was also page 54. I don't think that happens very often. And here we have page 54. And the headlines here is the child's name, date of birth, date of christening, the parents' name and where they lived, the age of the mother, the midwife, the names of the sponsors at the christening, and here if they are born within the marriage, and here is if they are born out of wedlock, and here is the total male females. So here we have 1858 and January 26, and we have Anders. So let's zoom in a bit. And we can see that he was christened on January 30. And we have the shoemaker, Nils Svensson Rickard and Elna Holmgren. And they lived at Vinslöv number 9. She was 38 years old. Midwife was Anna. She had a busy days here. And here are the sponsors at the christening. And this is also something you can use as a clue, because often relatives were sponsors. And for example, here we have a maid called Hanna Holmgren, and she happens to be the sister of Elna, the mother. And he was born within the marriage show and male. So it seems like we got the right person, but one other thing I wanted to do was to look at the brother, Nels Richardson. So I got his death certificate as well. And of course, annoyingly enough, the birth date didn't match exactly. It differed by 2 days. But since I've been doing some more research on this particular family, and Andrew and Nels had 2 sisters, a brother-in-law, nieces and nephews that also emigrated, and I followed them, I can now be sure that Andrew Richardson, the man who died alone in his cabin, is the same person as Anders Nilsson Rickard Holmer. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at linda@cousinlinda.com or leave a comment below. You will find the podcast Find Your Swedish Ancestors at iTunes or at cousinlinda.com. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care. Have a nice day. Over and out.